Okay, so let's start with the stats. This is a Stillman and Birn Zeta series mixed media sketchbook. It's 7.5 by 7.5 inches, 52 pages, so 26 leaves. It's got gorgeous, gorgeous, thick, hot press pages, meaning that the paper is really smooth with no tooth to it at all. I love it so much that I bought another one. Let's open this thing up. For the last couple of sketchbooks, I've recorded the date I began and the date that I finished on the inside cover, along with my chop or my printmaker's signature. Here I've just made little notes about ideas for illustrations that I wanted to do. This first page is a gouache painting of a blackberry bramble with a little spider in her web. There seem to be huge hedges of blackberries along every single country lane in England, which is where I was living for half of this sketchbook. So if my last sketchbook was my English sketchbook, then this one has dual citizenship. Now, it wouldn't be an English sketchbook without an English breakfast. It's not quite a full one, though. We went to this darling pub that had beautiful pattern plates that I wanted to remember, and I managed to find a paper that had a pretty similar pattern. So this is collage paper with gouache. And over here are a few landscapes. I started this sketchbook a week before my husband and I eloped in Scotland, and we road tripped around the borderlands and the moors. So we saw the purple North York moors, which were really spectacular, and they seemed to stretch on forever. Here is my study of Whitby, a seaside village in the North York Moors National Park. At the top of the hill here, you see the ruins of Whitby Abbey. My favorite part of Whitby was visiting the little antique shops. But I really like how this one turned out, but I'm not sure that I really captured the expansiveness of the scene. I sketched the bones of this study on site and then finished it just a few days ago, actually. It's gouache and ink pen. Okay, forgive me, but we are getting into mushy elopement territory. This is a study of florals from my wedding bouquet. We eloped in a town called Peebles, just about an hour south of Edinburgh in the Scottish borderlands. I made my bouquet myself the day before after stopping in at the local florist. It included beautiful blue and lavender hydrangeas, green-eyed roses to represent my mom, and thistles, of course. The text here says, "It's all enchanted and wild, just like my heart said it was gonna be," which is a lyric from Out of the Woods by Nickel Creek, which is our song. This, my friends, is our castle. I present to you Needpath Castle, a 14th century fortified stone tower nestled along the River Tweed. I actually found it on Airbnb and booked it for a couple of nights on a whim, and this is where David and I eloped. We had it all to ourselves. We had the full run of the place. We stargazed in the battlements up here. We slept in the room that Mary Queen of Scots once occupied. It was just us, an officiant and a photographer, and it was just so special and so intimate. And it was just like the most beautiful day of my life, pretty much. Okay, listen, if I start getting into how amazing this experience was, the video will be 3 hours long. But what do you say we cut in a little bit of romantic footage? Okay, let's do it. I loved this sketch of the castle so much that I made it into a postcard, which you can buy in my shop. Now, we purposefully overshot on our drive up to Scotland to go all the way up to Falkirk to see the Kelpies, a magical, absolutely enormous sculpture designed by Andy Scott in 2013. But a Kelpie is a dark water spirit of Scots Gaelic mythology. It appears near rivers and streams and will coax or trick you onto its back and then carry you to a watery grave. The sculpture lights up at night too. It's really cool. And this is, actually, I don't remember what building this is, but it's pretty and fancy, and I wouldn't mind living there. On this page, we have a lady in a thistle-inspired gown of my own design. My favorite part is the sheer sleeve. I really can't believe I pulled that effect off, honestly. But it was fun to play with all these different kinds of textures on the page. This back here is tea-stained notebook paper that I tore up, and this is the badge of the Order of the Thistle. And the Latin says, "No one provokes me with impunity." And then over here, I watched Keira Knightley in The Duchess, and these are little sketches of Duchess heads. Oh, now I remember what this building is meant to be. It's supposed to be Davenport House. Anyway, she's cute. I like drawing all the little ruffles and barrel curls. Now this is a portrait of Queen Elizabeth I as a thistle queen. You can see the reference in her neck ruff and also in the little thistles that I've hidden here. And this over here is Queen Amanita, the red mushroom queen. Her puff sleeves are clearly the best part. Next, we have one of the last pages I completed. I jump around in my sketchbooks instead of filling them up front to back, but it does eventually get filled up. I recently have liked sketching in pencil and ink and then doing kind of a stormy blue wash to deepen the shadows. It's kind of a quick way to have something rather sketchy look a little bit more complete. And on the facing page is a spider study that I titled Jeweler of the Woods. There's something like so gloriously beautiful about a spider web shimmering with the morning dew, like an incredible delicate silver necklace. I love spiders. What can I say? I like to put at least one self-portrait in each sketchbook, just for me, later on down the road to look back on, kind of like a record of the artist at the time. This is a label from a bottle of wine that David and I were given as a gift when we visited another castle the day after we eloped. So thank you, Patrick, at Barnard Castle. That was a really wonderful surprise. But we also went to the RAF Club in London with our friend, and in one of the hallways is a huge display of squadron badges, and there was one that quoted Shakespeare that really stuck with me. And by the glorious worth of my descent, this arm shall do it, or this life be spent. So I've kind of adopted this arm shall do it as a personal motto. And this is a painting of a tree that I'm pretty meh about. I'd probably like it better if I had chosen different colors, but oh well, they can't all be winners, but you can always learn something. Now it's mushroom time! I love England for many reasons, but one is definitely the abundance of mushrooms. If you saw my last sketchbook tour, you already know. I saw so many new varieties, but these were my favorites. The pinwheel mushrooms here were actually smaller than my pinky fingernail. The fly agarics or the amanitas were bigger than my hand. But I think my favorites of these were the lilac bonnets and the parrot wax caps, simply because their colors were so intense. Here we have a little apple study and some quick sketches of some of my favorite animals that I saw in England, namely a very friendly and snacky sheep that I named Apple. She lived at a farm in the Lake District where we stayed for about a week and would come running to me. I miss her. She was my friend. These are sketches for a tattoo commission. The client wanted an earthy Gaia figure surrounded by plants and animals. And these are the concepts that I came up with. I don't know which one she ultimately ended up picking, but this one is my favorite. These 2 pages are from when we visited the Jane Austen house in Chawton, England. There was a painting of Jane Austen's great-great-grandfather hanging in the hallway, and I just knew that I had to replicate it. He had such great personality. This is collaged with a piece of wallpaper that I bought there because it is a hand-printed reproduction of the actual block-printed wallpaper inside Jane's home. She lived there with her mother, sister, and friend, and wrote all 6 of her novels in the front room at a little wooden table by the window. And this is how I imagined her, imagining Mr. Darcy, weaving a tale for us to love for centuries. On this page is simply a fancy princess with a couple of stamps from some of my correspondence. I love this color scheme. And on the facing page is a celebration of strawberries, my favorite food. I've always enjoyed doing a bit of research behind the things that I draw because drawing is so much more than observation. It's a tool for me to learn and remember. So I was fascinated to discover that the strawberry is actually a member of the rose family, and that in Bavaria, it was traditional to tie baskets of wild strawberries to the horns of cattle as an offering to the elves in exchange for healthy calves and milk. It's amazing what you can find out. I think it's a rule that if an artist has a cat, that cat must be venerated in their work. So here is my girl Selu in simple ink and watercolor wash. And over here, I did this little illustration when one of my friends was having a really hard time, and I imagined a horde of angels coming to rescue her because I couldn't. It's hard moving away from home. This page is a study of a drawing of Elizabeth Siddal, a famous pre-Raphaelite art model you may know from Millet's Ophelia, painted in 1851. This page is a bit of mixed media. I had been printing with gold ink and decided to blot my brayer in my sketchbook, so that laid the ground for the drawing. I did the portrait on tracing paper and glued it in and added the blush on top. And this page started out as a study of the back of a butcher shop in Marlow. I was so enchanted with the architecture in England. It's so different from where I grew up in Kentucky. I mean, imagine that. Anyway, instead of a butcher shop, I turned it into this cozy cottage at the edge of the woods. I have some footage of working on this page, so let's take a look. Next we have kind of a whatever sort of spread. I did a little portrait of Bjork from her turn on the Oscars red carpet in 2001. Absolutely iconic look. This is a wine label that I liked. Some art that I made for the programs of a middle school performance of Romeo and Juliet. And a Cabbage Patch Cat, which I don't believe needs an explanation. This is a graphite drawing that started out as a study of Beau Bartlett's 2016 painting Dominion, which hangs in the High Museum of Art in Atlanta. It's originally a polar bear on a sparse landscape, but I turned it into a black bear in the forest. But looking back, I should have added more bulk around the neck and shoulders. But my favorite part is the spider web. And over here, another drawing of my wedding bouquet. I love flowers, okay? And I loved every second of marrying David, so I like to relive it. Oh look, just what you wanted, more romance. So we eloped in Scotland during the pandemic and then had a party a year later in Cincinnati with our family and friends. And as the one-year gift is supposed to be paper, I decided to make this little double portrait. My sketchbook open to the spread was on display at our party. This pattern paper here is from a rosé wine label. These pressed hydrangea flowers are from my actual bouquet. And this is a tea-stained love letter that I wrote to David and then cut it up to collage with. It's so special. I have been drawing his portrait ever since we met. In June, we will have been together 10 years. Crazy. On this spread is something extra special. So my dad recently retired and then dove straight into culinary school. I'm so proud of him. He is the epitome of a lifelong learner. Anyway, he was definitely the oldest student in the class, and he earned the nickname Old Cat. So here I'm working out a logo for him. I'm making the best one, which I think is this one, into a roll of stickers for him to put on his baked goods. And I might do a version of this one for his hot sauces, but I have to mess around with it a little bit. This was supposed to be his birthday gift, but it is abhorrently late. Sorry, Dad. Back to England. This is a study of the ruins of St. Peter's in Alresford, England. I have some footage of making it on site, so let's cut to that. I've made it to my spot, and I'm on my blanket with my study and all of my paints, and it's very nice. I find that if I approach something without worrying too much about the final result and I focus on the process, I find that I enjoy it a whole lot more. This lady is based on a portrait I saw at a castle I can't remember the name of, but I think it started with a K, and I just love her. I love her hair, her expression, her hands, and I got this pretty pattern paper from Choosing Keeping, the famous stationery shop in London, which I have to visit every time I go. Over here, I made this portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the day she died, September 8th, 2022. I think using a limited color palette of only graphite and light blue made it look really elegant. As an American, I have plenty of thoughts on the monarchy, but I have to admit the whole thing is just fascinating. Now we're back to the Jane Austen house in Chawton, and this is a portrait of Jane's brother, Edward Knight, on his grand tour at 22 years old. I loved his yellow pants, and this is a portrait of a fella I found painted on a plate somewhere in the house, and I just liked him. This is a quick sketch of a lady knight charging into battle, just with pen and gold acrylic gouache around the figure. Now here is a spread that I love, 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 love. This is a detailed painting of a thick, dense oak tree that I met in England. I used a gum resist for the veins in the leaves, and I really like the effect. And on the facing page here is a painting celebrating, once again, my cat Cleo. When she was just a wee baby kitten, she was alone in the woods until she chanced upon two campers. Those campers were friends of mine and brought her home. I met her and I held her tiny head in my hand, and it was over. Best friends forever. And this painting is Cleo making her way home to me. I'll be making prints of both of these paintings coming soon. Next, we have yet more romance with two folks kissing. Again, I love the limited color palette and the loose way that I treated the hair. And on the facing page is a study of a Kentucky landscape as seen out the window of the car on I-75. To my eyes, it's one of the most glorious sights to behold. I moved to Atlanta in 2020, and while Georgia is fine, I'll always be a Kentucky girl. I miss home. I've traveled all over the world, but nothing beats the bluegrass. And finally, on the last page, I was working out some ideas for some new block print experiments. Another meh page, but I had to get the idea on paper and work out the concept. And that, my friends, is the end. If you've made it to the end of the video, congratulations, you are a trooper. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to take a tour of another one of my sketchbooks, click here, or maybe over here. I don't know how to do that yet. Click somewhere. And please remember to like and subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. Be sure to follow me on Instagram for more art content, and you can find links to the materials that I use in the description box below, as well as my Etsy shop if you'd like to support me by purchasing my work. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!